So I do think that if the stock market is to drop 10, 15, 20% from where it is, it's hard to believe that Bitcoin, if Bitcoin fell, so let's do this and think about this, right? So Bitcoin was at 69 and the stock market was at all-time highs. Bitcoin dropped to 15.7, then bounced 100%. The NASDAQ has rallied massively, right? And so if we fall, let's just say we fall back to these October lows on the NASDAQ, to me, why wouldn't Bitcoin be below 15.7 when it only has to drop about $13,000, $14,000 versus dropping from 69 to 15 the last time we dipped down to these lows?
Popular technical analyst Gareth Soloway believes there could be further downsides in Bitcoin, possibly taking the leading crypto asset below its previous bear market low. Bitcoin prices dropped on Monday as investors continue to expect more market and economy-altering rate hikes. Crypto whales have also been sending record amounts of Bitcoin to exchanges. Bitcoin briefly fell below $29,000 on Monday before making a slight recovery. As a result, several analysts, Soloway included, are cautioning that Bitcoin prices could drop lower to around $19,000. With the next Federal Open Markets Committee, FOMC, meeting just a few hours away, it's almost a certainty that the Federal Reserve will resume its aggressive rate hikes despite the previous pause. According to CME's Fed Watch tool, the probability of another interest rate hike is currently 98.9%. There's also the issue of recession, which is still very likely in the latter part of 2023, according to most U.S. major banks. A sustained period of economic decline will negatively impact the stock market and, by extension, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and digital assets. During a recent video broadcast with Ben Cowan, Soloway discusses the correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market and what it means for Bitcoin if stock prices decrease by 15 to 20%. According to Soloway, Bitcoin is at a very crucial stage right at a level that has historically signaled either significant upside rallies or just as significant downsides. This time, Soloway is predicting a downside move for Bitcoin. The technical analyst says he is even more certain of a crypto crash now, especially if there's a similar move in equities. We will now bring you clips from the video. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm so we can continue to bring you these videos. Thanks and enjoy the video.
We've talked about how this channel was insanely hard to break out of. And again, a lot of people don't understand why it's such big resistance. And I want to just show you here, folks, if you go back to the beginning of the bull market, right? So we were already trading up here and we had this big move to about the 41, 42,000 level, and we retraced right there and it stalled. And then it rallied to 65,000. Then we came down 3 full times, 1, 2, 3, and we rallied to 69,000. And then we kind of came down, eventually consolidating right here and breaking down. And that's why this level is such a major technical resistance, because that was the buyer level. Back then, that was where everyone bought. So once we broke, it's now where everyone that bought in here is actually selling, right? They're like, oh my goodness, I got back to break even. I'm going to unload. In addition, it also has the aspect of being a technical level that I see. And so I've shorted multiple times into this level, as I'm sure many, many hundreds, if not thousands of other technical traders have. So here we are breaking down, trading right around 29,000. And you could see how we kept on getting rejected. Even when closing above, you had a reversal candle. This is a topping tail. So topping tails are powerful. This was a green candle. This is called a reversal candle in technical analysis. And then we were hugging this lower level and finally the break point. So I wouldn't say that we're definitely heading straight down, but I think Ben and I would both agree that there's probably some weakness in Bitcoin coming in, just in terms of the market coming down and potentially making a lower low down here. To me, it's honestly, I've become more convinced that that's going to happen based on what's been happening in the stock market relative to Bitcoin. And I think you put it perfectly, is that altcoin money has really been what's been propping Bitcoin up, right? Bitcoin alts are going lower. Bitcoin has been the recipient of a lot of that money and it's been grinding higher. You haven't really seen the NASDAQ's been making insane moves to the upside. NVIDIA stock, I mean, take a look at this chart on NVIDIA here. This incredible move, right? We made huge new all-time highs on NVIDIA. Now, granted, it was the AI story, but it was drawing liquidity away, but there was no recipient. You didn't see Bitcoin breaking out when NVIDIA had this move to the upside. So that's a concern. And the concern becomes that if the stock market, let's just say we pull back to this gap fill on a technical basis, this is probably where we're headed back to on NVIDIA. So if we drop, that would be about 30% on NVIDIA. Where is Bitcoin at that point? Where is the altcoin market? And I would be scared to think about where the altcoin market is at that point.
Here's a short message from our sponsor, iTrust Capital, America's #1 crypto IRA platform. Due to popular demand, Ripple's XRP token is back on iTrust Capital, providing investors with the opportunity to buy, sell, and save toward retirement using one of the world's most popular and largest cryptocurrencies by market cap. We previously unlisted XRP due to the lawsuit filed against Ripple Labs executives by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, alleging that the executives violated U.S. securities law by offering an unregistered security. On July 13th, a U.S. federal judge ruled in favor of Ripple Labs, declaring that XRP is not a security and can be safely traded on public exchanges. This is a huge victory for the entire cryptocurrency industry and for savvy investors who want to be a part of this revolutionary industry while saving toward retirement. As America's #1 digital asset IRA platform with a AAA rating on Business Consumer Alliance, iTrust lets you buy and sell cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, and precious metals like gold and silver with very low trading fees and no hidden charges. It's time to finally drop your boring old bonds and stock portfolios and join the future of finance with iTrust Capital's tax-advantaged, self-directed IRAs. Please click the link in the description box below to get started.
I think one of the couple things that I want to just bring up is number one is that the .com situation is what I've talked about for the last year plus 2 years, in that you have all these crappy, living through and trading through the .coms. There was pet.com. There was, I make you a dinner.com. Like every crappy idea was thrown out there and they attached a .com to it. And it got a ridiculous valuation. People would buy it. It could literally be like, hey, here's my dog's turd.com. And people were like, oh, $100 million valuation, just like that. And the idea here is, if you look at the comparisons of what we've seen in the crypto markets with these shit coins and these meme coins, it's so eerily similar. And what we know from the .coms is that you had to have a washout where, think about how many .coms, when you came in 2001, 2002, out of that period, how many .coms were really left at that point? It was at least the name brand ones. There was maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe 20. Well, very similar. You would probably expect the same thing with the altcoins, right? So there will be some that survive. I think you'd agree with that, Ben, but it will be way less than you have out there. And by the way, if you look at the NFT market right now, talk about a market that hasn't even bounced yet. That hasn't even had a slight bounce.
The drop in Bitcoin's price coincides with increased inflows into exchanges by large investors. On July 24, Bitcoin whale exchange inflow hit a one-year high of over 40% of total volume. Though exchange inflow does not completely capture the picture, a higher positive net inflow of deposits to centralized exchanges could indicate increased selling pressure, which could cause further price declines. Another rogue factor is the continuous regulatory crackdown keeping institutional investors at bay in the United States. Despite its recent partial loss against Ripple, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is not backing down. It has already announced that it would be appealing the ruling, which means more regulatory crackdowns on crypto projects are in the works. Let's get back to Soloway's broadcast as he further discusses his thoughts on the U.S. economy and cryptocurrencies.
Just take a look at this chart too, which is Fed balance sheet, right? So you had the pop in the Fed balance sheet when the financial crisis, the banks crisis. But if you look here, right, we're now making new lows. And so I think you talked about it. We've talked about it almost in every no shill zone for the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks. But there's the jaws opening up, right, where you have less and less liquidity in the system, but the stock market has continued higher. And the reason that impacts crypto is because it's all liquidity, right? It doesn't matter if it's a stock, if it's a commodity, or if it's a crypto. It all has to do with how much money is in the system. How much money do people have to actually buy things with? I think we've seen the economic data again in the past week. Since our last stream, we saw other economic data. I think productivity might have been one that was down, that missed expectations. There's been a bunch. We got some European data out, I think in the last 24 hours, that was just horrendous. So at some point, the labor market will crack, but I think that's been, if you look at a dam and that's the one thing plugging the dam from breaking and flooding the whole scenario here. So I think it's super interesting. And I do want to mention, and Ben, I feel like this is something we almost have to have at the bottom of our screen when we do these, is that we're both very bullish longer term, but we just try to keep it real, right? I'm not going to come on here, and Ben's not going to come on here and be like, hey guys, to the moon with Bitcoin and everything like that. We want to make sure that people get on the right side of the trade, or at least have a good indication about the likely probability of a move. And that's really what it is. So we are both bullish longer term, especially on Bitcoin, but we want you guys to at least be understanding of what the data is showing us.
Though experts say the possibility of another interest rate hike is almost 100%. A recent Reuters survey reveals that a majority of 106 economists believe it will be the last rate increase for this tightening cycle. However, many of them expect the Fed funds rate to remain high for much longer. Former Federal Reserve Chair Ben Bernanke recently attended a webinar event held by Fidelity Investments, during which he suggested that the 25 basis points rise in July could very well be the final hike. It looks very clear that the Fed will raise another 25 basis points at its next meeting, Bernanke said. It's possible this increase in July might be the last one. The former central bank also predicted a slowdown for the U.S. economy, adding that he doesn't envision a massive recession in the future. What are your thoughts on Gareth Soloway's Bitcoin price prediction and outlook for the U.S. economy? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos. Thanks for watching.